The Miami Dolphins get a huge victory Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. Where do we go from here? Do we go up? Do we go down? Is the season saved? Are we going to the playoffs? Or is this just a mirage? Let's talk about it. What is up, Finn fans? Huge victory. Ginormous victory. And again, I'll talk about it, what they did and how they did it, and then some of the talking points and all that stuff. But first and foremost, do have to shout out sponsors for today. Helps keep the lights on. Check out Sleeper. I talk about them a lot in pretty much every video. Love using them. Fantasy app. You get the $20 free entry. You don't need to deposit. But if you do, please use the promo code DDW. You get 100% up to $100. You donate $100, they match it. Plain and simple. But please check them out. Very fun. Link in the description. Also, Mando is back. If you guys have been following me for a hot minute, I've been working with Mando. They have some really great stuff, whether it's deodorant, it's creams, it's deodorant spray. Guess what? I got some more creams. It all smells fantastic. Great, great, great stuff. Clinically sweat controlled, deodorant re-energized to stop odor before it starts for 72 hours. This stuff lasts. Premium ingredients, double protection. Check them out. We got a short week, which means I'm going to be sweating trying to get these videos out. So I'm going to be using this. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. So like I said, if you haven't heard about these, it's perfect for you. Comes with the deodorant stick. It comes with a cream of tube deodorant, which is this one, and then 2 free products of your choice, whether it's a mini body wash or deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for my listeners and new customers, you get 20% off site-wide with exclusive code. Can you guess what it is? Is DDW. So use the code DDW at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. Again, site-wide. It's not just certain criteria of things you can use. Anything on their site, you get 20% off. Again, shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweaty stains and a hello to long-lasting freshness. Especially now with, like I said, we're going to be sweating. It's a short week, and then we got to face the Baltimore Ravens on a short week. So, this week, I'm going to be pumping out a lot of videos for you guys, so I hope you guys enjoy. So, like I said, Miami Dolphins come out, big victory against the Atlanta Falcons, 34-10, dominated all facets of the game. Offensive line played great, defensive line played great, held Bijan Robinson to 25 rushing yards, held the entire team to only 45 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown that came at garbage time. All great stuff. But I want to go a little bit more in depth, right? We had the 3-headed monster that was our running backs in Devon Achane, 18 carries, 67 yards, Ollie Gordon, 10 carries, 46 yards, and Jalen Wright, 9 carries for 28 yards. The guy with the best average was Ollie Gordon, 4.6 yards a carry. We saw the guy that we kept seeing glimpses of during preseason and here and there in the beginning of the season. He's a hard-nosed runner. I think he barely got tackled for a loss. The man was consistently falling forward, getting those extra yards. So that 3-headed monster finally worked. And it sucks that it took the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel 8 weeks to get this going. And again, you're facing a good defense, a good defensive front. Now, they're not the highest in the NFL when it comes to rush defense. I'll tell you exactly what their rush defense is, but they are up there in defense. So it's, again, this is not something to stick your nose up at and say, it's just the Atlanta Falcons. Look what the Atlanta Falcons did to the Buffalo Bills and James Cook, who went off for 200 rushing yards against Carolina Panthers. So this defense that we faced is the number 2 overall defense, number 1 passing, but it is the number 20th rushing defense. So again, the Miami Dolphins took big advantage of that. They are the 8th scoring defense, only allowing 20 points a game, and the Miami Dolphins dropped 34 on them. They scored a touchdown in every single quarter of this game. So that three-headed monster was something that should have been implemented from jump, but unfortunately wasn't something that was implemented until now. Again, too little, too late. Then we got the pressure. Now, this defensive front pressure. Jalen Phillips, 60% pressure on his snaps. You had Chop Robinson with 26% pressure. Jordan Brooks with 24. But yes, again, Jalen Phillips, 60% pressure rate. But again, couldn't get to the man. The only sack on the day was off of a blitz with Jordan Brooks. So they need to figure out what is going on that Jalen Phillips consistently gets pressure, but he can't finish. He can't get to the quarterback. Because again, he is like top 5, top 10 in pressure rate among defensive linemen, but he has like 1.5 sacks on the season. Like it's just not adding up to getting after the quarterback and finally attacking him. So there's that. Offensive line played much better. Now, they didn't play perfect, but they did play much better. Cole Strange gave up 3 pressures. Jonah gave up 2 pressures. Larry Bourne, 1 pressure. Patrick Paul, 1 pressure. Aaron Brewer, no pressures. So again, much better than what we saw against the Browns, where it was just pressure. It was horrible. And then even against the Chargers and all that stuff, it was a good day again, front versus a good defensive front that when it comes to sacks was 14th in the NFL with 15 sacks. They had 1 on the day? And also takeaways, they were 8th in the NFL with 9 turnovers. We had 0. We had no turnovers on the day. So again, a very, very nice day. Finally, before we get into some other stuff, Tua Tagovailoa. One-eye Magoo. You know, he had his celebration where he covered his eye. It looked like pink eye. It looked like some type of sty maybe on his eye or something. It was swollen. Got a little better as the game went on. But he had a good game. He had a very good game. 4 touchdowns, 205 yards. He had 100 yards all last week against the Cleveland Browns. 20 for 26. 205 yards. You know, he missed 6 throws. Some of them were overthrows by him. You know, it is what it is. 4 touchdowns, though, right? Like, I know, you know, some people just want to be like, brush this off. If you guys remember, I said to you, this game and Thursday's game, I'm going to look at Tua, and I'm going to try to figure out what is going on with him, right? Because this is different. Tua has his ups and downs. If you've been following me and you have actually listened to what I say, because I've noticed that a lot of people who don't think I'm critical of Tua or call me a Tuaney or call me whatever names they want to, or actually don't like me, it's because they listen to bits and pieces, right? I'll say something positive about Tua and then they'll probably stop listening and not listening to my full assessment of him as a quarterback. And one of my biggest things, even when his contract was due to be, you know, either give him a new contract or let him play on the 5th-year option, my biggest thing was I need him to stay healthy for more than just one game, and I need that high play to be more consistent. Because in 2023, he had very good games, but they were inconsistent, right? Because he would make interceptions in some games. He'd play really well in other games. A little inconsistent here and there. So I needed to see more of that. And unfortunately, this game, he played a 500 team. So again, they didn't be a winning team. But who honestly cares? It beat a top 2 defense. So I wanted to look at him and see like what's going on, because, you know, he has his bevs and flows. Tua is, you know, he'll go up and then he'll go down and have a bad few games and go good. And then, whereas this season, it's just been like, and it's just been like scraping along the bottom. He's just been bad for a good 90% of the season. So I told you guys this game and Thursday's game, I want to focus on him preferably and give you guys a full breakdown of my thoughts, like what is going on with him. He came out and he had a good game, right? And what happened in this game, you know, he was making the throws. He wasn't forcing passes. He was having fun. That's one of the things he said in his press conferences. You know, I have to stop trying to force things and do this and that. He was having fun. The touchdown pass to Malik Washington, he evaded pressure, rolled out to his right, threw it in a tight pocket. Boom, Malik Washington for the touchdown. Like, and I'm going to break down the film on this one. It's going to be over on the Patreon, because if I put it on here, it's going to the video is going to get taken down. So to my patrons, this week you will get a video. I think tomorrow night or the night after. It's a short week, but I will give you a video. he got what he needed though, right? And again, I still, even after this game, I know I'm probably getting a lot of hate for this, I still think the Dolphins should still draft a quarterback because, it's the Bevs and Flows, and I don't want to poo on him, gross, for a great game, but it's one game. We saw what he did with the other, 7. I need to see what he does for the other, what are we at? 8 games? 7? 9 games? Brain didn't want to work. But he got what he needed, which is we ran the ball 37 times and he passed it 26. Look at all the quarterbacks in the NFL, right? How many of them really do well when they're forced to throw the ball 40 something times or 35 plus times? Not many. The elite ones can. Josh Allen, he is the Bills offense, right? James Cook went off this past week, this Sunday. But outside of that, he is the offense. If he throws the ball like 35, 40 times like he did against the Ravens, they're most likely going to win because he knows what he's doing. But Tua, they told him, hey, just win us the game, right? Play smart. We're going to feed the run game, but play smart. Throw the passes that are open. Make your reads. Do what you need to do. And go out there and have some fun. And he did. And that's what, I talk about constantly how Chris Grier did not build this team properly for him. And I got pushback for that, right? Oh, you have Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, Jonnu Smith, you added Devon Achane. What are you talking about, Doug? That's not Tua's thing, right? Hey, if this is Lamar Jackson, if this is Josh Allen, if this is Caleb Williams, if it's these mobile quarterbacks, 100%, you don't really have to worry about the offensive line because they can get out of pressure very easily. That's not Tua. You drafted an injured quarterback. So if you draft an injured quarterback and he doesn't have a strong arm, you got to build a wall in front of him. Now, I'm not saying the best wall, a top 10 offensive line, but you got to build a wall in front of him. And you got to have a run game to take the pressure off of him when he decides to throw. And you want to know what happens when they do that? 34-10 against a top 5 defense, top 3, the number 2 defense in the NFL. And some people ask, how are they that high of a defense, but they're 3-3? Their red zone defense and offense is not good. And I talked about it in the preview. So, Tua did what he needs to. I'm not going to sit here and, like I said, puff my chest and say, we're back and we're going on a tear and we're going to win the next 3 and this and that. And look at these Dolphins and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I enjoyed the win. Like I said, 24 hours. I enjoyed it yesterday. It was a fantastic win. It was fun for the people who want to tank and get the first overall pick. That is still an option with the Jets winning. It didn't separate them to really solidify them as that number 1 overall pick. So a lot of things are still in play. So it was good to sit back and watch such a dominant game from a team that has been so butt all season, right? Even their win against the Jets was a 1-score win. So for most of the season, they have been bad. The run defense has been bad. And for the first time against a good running offense and a good defense, they played all three facets of the game perfectly and then won the game. So it was fun. So Mike McDaniel came out and he talked about a little bit of what he noticed, right? He said the coaching staff and players did a great job being focused. The results is nice. And it finally got them in its feels like forever. We have to replicate them in the coming weeks. Again, it's a short week to take on the Baltimore Ravens. We knew they were going to try to get it to a dangerous player, McDaniel said, and we knew we had multiple players around the ball. I was going to have to a pack mentality, a lot of population around the ball, essentially talking about having to stop Bijan Robinson. He's saying trying to keep them one-dimensional was a priority. The opening drive was a 3-and-out to get a stop and have a clean execution on special teams. We had some frustrating penalties we cleaned up. The outcome of the game is much different if all these phases weren't working in concert. It continued throughout the game. It was cool to see the most complimentary football played in the most complimentary practice week of guys investing into each other and the plan. Talking about the carries, he said, I like how we blocked in the run game, but the games haven't played out where you were able to fully lean on the development. There were some really good plays by the runners, and particularly on third down, the extra yardage that Ollie Gordon and Devon Achane were able to get, and Jalen Wright's last drive, were able to incorporate all three and help us out a lot. And again, that's another thing that we saw that we wanted to see from jump, that we were told we were going to see when we drafted the big boys up front, when we drafted the physical back and Ollie Gordon, when we went out and got James Daniels and all this stuff, right? We got Jonah, we got James Daniels, we got Ollie Gordon, and we're told, hey, even Madison, who unfortunately got injured, we're told we're going to be more physical, we're going to run it. And they didn't do it for most of the season. And then this game on 3rd and 2, on 4th and 1, and all these short yardage situations, they gave the ball to Ollie. And Ollie got the yardage. And that's what they needed to do from jump. They needed to entrust Ollie Gordon more to run the ball. Now, again, I honestly think it's too little too late. You're sitting here now at 2-6. You got an uphill battle. You got 3 very good teams that you're going to be facing because Lamar Jackson will be back. So it's a very big uphill battle, but see what happens when they do what we expect of them, and when they, produce and play disciplined football and stick to the fundamentals and stuff. So again, to me, it's too little too late. I'm not going to sit here. I enjoyed the win for 24 hours. So if you want to continue enjoying the win, by all means, I'm onto the Ravens. And to me, it's too little too late. I'm going to be still very critical of this team who started horribly. And the turnaround needs to be like the quickest thing we've ever seen in our entire lives, because you got the Ravens coming up. Now, Barry Jackson, talked about some few things that, some of the changes that helped the Dolphins win, right? So the league worst rush defense held the Falcons' Bijan to the 4th lowest rushing total of his career. There was more extensive usage of the backup running backs and recumbent of the running game, which entered 11th in yards per carry, but 28th in attempts. That completely changed. Tua eliminated the turnovers and displayed far better touch on his intermediate throws. He didn't throw a pick on Sunday after entering with 10 interceptions. But there was one particular area of the field where his play was dramatically improved. On a day he finished 20 for 206 yards. 20 for 26 for 205 yards, 4 touchdowns. During his 2 breakout sessions, Tua was outstanding on intermediate throws, passes traveling 10 to 19 yards with a rating of 101 passer rating on 278 such throws in 2022 and 2023. This season, his play on those intermediate throws was a deficient. Deficient? Dyslexic man reading. 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 75.2 passer rating entering Sunday. Now, they are far worse than most of the better quarterbacks in the league. On Sunday, by my calculations, Tua was 6 for 7 and a touchdown on those intermediate throws, and all 6 were important, including a 10-yard pass to Jalen Waddle, who sprinted 33 yards for a 43-yard touchdown to push the Dolphins' lead 24-3. Tua said his left eye was swollen shut, but when he woke up and the Dolphins gave him antibiotics. I had some thoughts about what it could be or might be, but none of those seem to be what it was. Maybe a sty or allergic reaction. We'll be able to figure it out when we get back. He wore a visor during the game, the first time he had done that since high school. I say keep the visor on. I say put a tinted visor on. Be different. As for the rush defense, much better. Much better. The Dolphins made some subtle changes, personnel changes that paid dividends. The most notable, Miami used Daniel Brunskill as a tight end / 7th offensive lineman on at least 8 plays, and a move that helped the running game and made sense in the absence of injured tight end Julian Hill, which is huge, absolutely huge, and something that should have been incorporated before week 8. Cornerback Storm Duck also got a package of snaps in relief for Jack Jones before leaving with a knee injury. Ollie Gordon got his most of the work of the season, and Jalen Wright also got his first carries. Besides using more of Brunskill, Gordon, Wright, and Cedric Wilson Jr., McDaniel wisely relied on the running game and his running back depth. Two of McDaniel's intangible changes also worked. He was more blunt than usual and less forgiving in his tone, several players said. McDaniel said he spent more one-on-one time with individual players, he mentioned earlier this week. And another change, offense coordinator Frank Smith moves from the booth to the field. Frank being on the field was really helpful. I don't think it would be the only one to say that. One concerning injury was safety Ashton Davis left early with a quad injury, and then Storm Duck got carted off. Ifatu Melifanu left with a hand injury, but returned. Then safety Mika Fitzpatrick departed with a thumb injury. So they are getting more and more banged up. Dolphins rookie corner guard Jonah, for what seemed to be his best game of the season, had an exceptional block on 3 big plays, including a touchdown pass to Devon Achane. Again, growth. This is something very happy to see. Overall, now that I gave you all this information, gave you all this stuff, where do we go from here? This is what the Tankathon looks like, right? This is who the Miami Dolphins are picking at 5. And I said they can trade up if they want to, and I got pushback from someone being like, who's going to trade up? Like, we wanted to trade up for Burrow, blah, blah, blah. Say the Tennessee Titans get number 1. They're not taking a quarterback, so if the Dolphins want a quarterback, they could trade up. The only teams that are, essentially the 3 teams that are ahead of us right now are the 3 teams that would take a quarterback in Cleveland, the Jets, and the Saints. Would Cleveland take a quarterback? Yes. Gabriel is nothing. He's nothing, and they still haven't put Shador out there, so yes, they would. Jets, they don't have a quarterback, and Saints suck, so they need a quarterback. So that's where you're looking at. And then you look at behind us, like Vegas might take a quarterback, Rams could take a quarterback, but again, Stafford's probably playing for a while. Who else? That's about it that would take a quarterback, right? This is what they mock us taking at 5. Spencer Fano, then John Maitre. So we would take a quarterback with the 4th pick in the 2nd round. Will Lee, the corner, and then Jashawn Barham. Now, I don't know much. I know about these 2 guys. I don't know much because I haven't looked at depth, but these are the picks that the Dolphins have, not talking about comp picks that we could possibly get for Javon Holland, which would be a 4th, I think. So I think the Dolphins would have 2/3 and a 4th. But the fact that we're bad and we're picking 5 means that we're picking 5, and then we're picking the 4th pick in the 2nd round, and we're picking the 6th pick in the 3rd round, and we're picking the 5th pick in the 4th round. So we have high picks, in those rounds. We don't have a 6th round pick. But that's kind of where we're sitting at with the draft. And again, for the people who want to lose on purpose and tank on purpose so we can get a quarterback or whatever you want to say. So here's my thoughts, right? Where do we go from here after I talk for 22 minutes, kind of going more in depth on this game? I don't think this really is going to change anything. This might be me being cynical. Hey, I did put Dolphins gear on. I put my new hat on, my rivalry hat on. Look at the back of it. Look how cool this is. I don't think this is really going to change anything. And I think the fact that things are working now because they put Daniel Brunskill at tight end, and because they use the 3 running backs, and because Mike McDaniel changed his attitude, and because they changed this and that, and all these things, and Frank Smith is on the sideline instead of in the booth, and blah 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 blah. It's nice to hear, but at the same time, it pisses me off because it took you 8 weeks to do this. When you started 0-3, that's when all of that stuff should have changed, right? When you lost to Buffalo, and, it was a game that you could have won, but when you lost to Buffalo, that's when these things should have changed. That's when, they should have used Brunskill more as an extra blocker. They should have used all 3 of their running backs. They should have had Frank Smith on the sideline. McDaniel should have cracked the whip a little bit more. All of these things should have changed. And maybe you're looking at a different team, one that might have beaten the Chargers and one that might have beaten the Panthers. And then all of a sudden, you're sitting here not at 2-6, but you're sitting here at 4 and Four. Math. You're in a different situation, but you're not. And that's what pisses me off. And I know people are going to sit here and say, well, them winning against the Falcons definitely saved them their job. Pump your brakes. There's a lot of games left. There's 9 games left in this season. Just because they won in a blowout fashion and everyone is happy as can be doesn't mean that at the end of the year, both of these guys are guaranteed to come back. In my personal opinion, the only way that both of these guys come back is if the Dolphins make the playoffs and they win. Now, if the Dolphins somehow make the playoffs, then there's my thought process of there's no way they're coming back would change to they're probably coming back. Tua's got one more year. They'll keep him around. They'll finagle some things and let it ride out. And then if they fall flat on their face, they'll burn the bridge because Tua will be gone. They can move on, yada, yada. But if the Dolphins continue to struggle against better opponents, like the Buffalo Bills, like the Commanders, the Ravens, even though they're a 2-win team as well, they get Lamar back, then you have to face the Steelers, you have to face Tampa Bay, you have to face New England again. You have the Jets who did very well against Cincinnati. That's the other thing. Again, for the people who want to lose to get the first overall pick, you're facing 2 of the 4 teams in front of you to get that number 1 overall pick in the Jets and the Saints. You lose those 2 games, that really pushes you ahead to get that number 1 overall pick. So again, I told everyone yesterday, enjoy the win, right? Enjoy it. They came out, we had fun in the stream. They had fun on the field. There was at no point that we were sitting there, clutching our pearls. Oh my God, are we going to win? Are we not going to win? Enjoy it. That doesn't mean that we're going to go on a 10-game winning streak or a 9-game winning streak and end the season at 11-6 and this and that. No. It might have changed my opinion that we are a 3-win team. Maybe now we're a 4-win team. Maybe instead of, losing to the Bengals, thought initially, I think we beat the Bengals, right? Maybe we're a 5-win team. We beat the Saints. We beat the Jets. We beat the Bengals. But again, I haven't seen them do much against other opponents that would have me sit here and all of a sudden ring the bell that the season's saved. Because it's 2-6. Because they waited too long to make the changes that they did to get a 31-10 win. They waited too long. So it was fantastic. Let's see how the rest of it goes. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Again, good win. I'm done with it. On to the Baltimore Ravens. What are you going to do with Lamar coming back? What are you going to do with Derrick Henry? What are you going to do with their passing game? Their defense isn't great. Are you going to keep up? What are you going to do? Let's see how this all pans out. 1 game at a time. But comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you tomorrow. No film breakdown tomorrow. So I might do the preview tomorrow and then do my picks on Wednesday, like I usually do. I might change some things up. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you tomorrow. But like usual, stay classy and fins up.